morning, year ones. It's time for another couple of chapters of the Enchanted Wood. We're on our very last week with a few more chapters to go. If you remember in the last episode, the red goblins had taken over the faraway tree, hadn't they? And can you remember how they got caught? They were all pushed down the slippery slip and they are all scrambled at the bottom and they're just deciding what to do with them. Moonface finishes that chapter saying, what about those goblins in the slippery slip? So chapter 29, it's called The Punishment of the Red Goblins. It's certainly time we dealt with those red goblins, said Mr. Whiskers, the chief elf, wiping his long beard with a yellow handkerchief. He had dropped plum juice all down it. And just at that moment there came a great surprise. A deep voice behind them said, "Oh, here's a nice little party. What about coming back with me into Wizardland and doing a few jobs?" Everyone turned in dismay. They saw a curious figure above them, leaning down from a big branch. It was a wizard, whose green eyes blinked lazily like a cat's. "It's Mighty One, the wizard," said Moonface, and he got up to bow, for Mighty One was as mighty as his name. Everyone did the same. "Who is he?" whispered Franny. "He's the most powerful wizard in the whole world," whispered back Silky. "He's come down the ladder. So that means that the land of red goblins has gone, and the land of the wizards has come. They are always on the lookout for servants, and I suppose Mighty One has come down to look for some." "Well, I'm not going to be a servant to a wizard," said Franny. "You won't be," said Silky. "He's not a bad fellow. He won't take anyone who doesn't want to go. It's good training for a fairy who wants to learn magic." Mighty One blinked his eyes slowly and looked at the little crowd on the branches before him. "I need about 100 servants to take back with me," he said. "Who will come?" Nobody said a word. Moonface got up and bowed again. "Your Highness," he said, "we none of us want to leave the Enchanted Wood, where we are very happy. You may perhaps find others who would like to go back with you. We beg you not to take any of us." "Well," said the wizard, sliding his green eyes from one person to another, "I haven't much time. My land will swing away from the faraway tree in about an hour. Can you get me the servants I want? If you can, I will not take you." Everybody looked worried, but Joe jumped up with a beaming face. Can you guess what Joe's plan is? "Your Highness, would red goblins do for your servants?" "Excellent," said Mighty One. "They are quick and obedient. But goblins would never agree to coming with me. They belong to their own land." Moonface, what's his name, and the saucepan man all began to talk at once. Hello. Mighty One lifted up his hand and they stopped. "One at a time," said the wizard. So Moonface spoke. "Sir," he said, "we have about 100 goblins boxed up in the middle of this tree. For a while they held us as prisoners. It would be very good if you took them away to teach them some discipline and some good manners." Mighty One looked astonished. 100 goblins?" he said. "That is very strange. Explain." So Moonface explained. Mighty One was most interested to hear of their adventure. "We'll all go down to the bottom of the tree and let the goblins out one by one," said Joe, excited. "Come on, what a shock for them to see the wizard." So they all trooped down the tree in the bright rays of the rising sun. Really, it was all most exciting. They came to the trapdoor at the foot of the tree. Behind it they could hear a lot of shouting and quarrelling and pushing. "Don't push! You're squashing me!" Moonface unbolted the trapdoor and opened it. Out shot a red goblin and fell on a green cushion of moss. He picked himself up, blinked in the bright sunlight, and then turned to run. But Mighty One tapped him with his wand and he stood still. He couldn't move. He looked scared when he saw the wizard. One by one, the red goblins tumbled out of the trapdoor and were tapped by the wizard. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. They came shooting out the trapdoor, surprised and frightened, sliding gradually down the slippery slip as one after another slid from the trapdoor. Franny giggled. It was a funny sight to see. It's a very good punishment for those bad goblins, isn't it? She said to Silky. They came down the ladder to trap you, and now someone else has trapped them and is taking them back to his land. The red goblin stood in a sulky row, quite unable to run away. Quick march, said the wizard, when the last one had slid out of the trapdoor, and up the tree went the sulky goblins. It was no use trying to escape. The wizard had put a spell on their legs, and they had to go up to the top of the tree, through the big white cloud, and into the wizard land. Just what they deserve, said Joe. My goodness, what an exciting night we've had. I did enjoy it. Isn't it cold? Said the saucepan man, shivering. Cold? Cried Beth and Franny, who were feeling hot in the morning sun. Why, it's as warm as can be. It's because he hasn't got his kettles and saucepans hung around him as usual, said what's-his-name. I expect they feel like a coat to him. Poor old saucepan. I don't like the look of him without his saucepans, said Franny. He doesn't look right. Can't we collect them for him? They're on the ground and all about the tree. So they began to collect the saucepan man's belongings. He was very pleased. They hung his kettles on him and put his saucepans all around them, with his special one for a hat. Some of them were a bit dented and bent, but he didn't mind a bit. There, said Franny, pleased. You look like yourself now. You looked horrid with all your saucepans on, like a snail without its shell. I never had a bell, said the saucepan man. Shell, I said Franny. Smell, said the saucepan man, looking round. I can't smell anything. What sort of smell? Nice or nasty? Shell, not smell, said Franny impatiently. Oh, shell. What shell? Said the saucepan man. But Franny had forgotten what she'd said, and she shook her head and laughed. Never mind, she shouted. We really must go, said Joe. Mother will be awake now and wondering what has happened to us. Oh dear, I do feel sleepy. Come on, girls. They said goodbye to all the tree dwellers and set off through the enchanted wood. Silky went back to her house in the tree, wondering what had happened to her clock, which hadn't joined in the adventure at all. It had been fast asleep. Moonface went back to the tree, yawning. What's-his-name and the saucepan man climbed back, so tired that they fell asleep before they reached their hole and had to be put safely in the corner of a broad branch by the angry pixie in case they fell down. Dame Washalot went back, making up her mind to do no washing that day. Soon there was peace in the tree, and only the snores of what's-his-name could be heard. Far away, up in the tree in the land of wizards, the red goblins were working hard. Ah, they had got just what they deserved, hadn't they? They wouldn't be in such a hurry to catch other people in the future. The three children got home and their mother stared at them in surprise. You are up early this morning, she said. I thought you were still in bed and asleep. Fancy getting up and going out for a walk before breakfast like that. How sleepy the children were that day. And dear me, didn't they go to the bed early that night? They hadn't slept at all. No more wandering through the enchanted wood and up the faraway tree for me tonight, said Joe as he got into bed. I vote we don't go there for a long time. It's getting just a bit too exciting. But it wasn't long before they went again, as you will see. I've got a very sleepy dog here. who likes listening to my stories. So we're going to go on to the next chapter in just a minute. Okay, straight on to the next chapter and the next adventure, which is chapter 30. And this is called A Plan for Beth's Birthday. A week later, it was Beth's birthday. She was very excited because Mother said she could have a small party. We'll ask all our friends in the faraway tree, she said. Do you really think we should? Said Joe doubtfully. I don't think Mother would like Dame Washalot, or Mr. Whiskers, or the Angry Pixie. Well, we can't very well ask some and not others, said Beth. The ones we left out would be very hurt indeed. It's awkward, said Franny. We'd better go and tell Moonface and Silky and ask them what to do. But Mother wouldn't let the two girls go off with Joe that day. Sorry about that. It was somebody at the door wanting to know if I wanted my path repaved. I don't. So where were we? Mother wouldn't let the two girls go off with Joe that day. She said there was a lot of work for them to do in tidying up their room. Oh, bother, said Franny to Joe. You'll have to go alone, Joe, and ask Moonface and Silky what we ought to do about our party. Don't be too long, or we'll be worried about you. And please don't go climbing up into any strange land without us. Don't worry, said Joe. I'm not going to visit any more lands at the top of the faraway tree. I've had enough adventures to last me for the rest of my life. Do you think that's true? He set off. He ran through the enchanted wood and came to the faraway tree. It was a hot afternoon, and not many of the little folk were around. It seemed almost too hot to climb the tree. Joe whistled. The little red squirrel popped down from the tree and looked at him. Leap up to the top of the tree and ask old Moonface if he'll drop me down a rope with a cushion on the end and haul me up, squirrel, said Joe. The squirrel bounded lightly up the tree. Soon a rope with a cushion tied to it came slipping down the tree. Joe caught hold of it. He sat astride the cushion and tugged the rope. It began to go up the tree, bumping into branches as it went. It was a funny ride, but Joe enjoyed it. He waved to the angry pixie who was sitting outside his house. He stared at Joe in surprise and then grinned when he saw who it was. The owls were all asleep in their homes. Mr. What's-his-name was awake for once and fell out of his chair in alarm when he suddenly saw Joe swinging up through the air, bumping into branches. When he saw it was Joe, he was so pleased that he fell off his branch onto the saucepan man, who was snoozing in a chair just below. "Oh," said the saucepan man, startled. "What's the matter? Why are you jumping on me?" "I'm not," said What's-his-name. "Look, there's Joe." "Go? I don't want to go," said the saucepan man, settling down again. "Don't be so restless." "I said there's Joe," roared What's-his-name. "Where?" said the saucepan man in surprise, looking all around. But by that time, of course, Joe was far away up in the tree, laughing over funny What's-his-name and dear old saucepan. What's-his-name climbed back to his chair and shut his eyes. Soon his snores reached Joe, who was far above, hoping that Silky would see him and go up to Moonface's to talk to him. He forgot to look out for Dame Washalot's water, but it missed him nicely, splashing down heavily on poor old What's-his-name, making him dream that he was falling out of a boat and into the sea. Silky did see him and waved. She climbed the tree quickly to go up to Moonface's. By the time she got there, Joe had just arrived and was getting off the cushion. "Hello," said Moonface and Silky, pleased to see him. "Where are Beth and Franny?" Joe told them. He told them about Beth's birthday too, and her difficulty about how many people she should ask. "We'd like everyone," said Joe, "but Mother wouldn't like some of them, we're sure. What shall we do?" I know, said Silky, clapping her hands suddenly. "Next week, the land of birthdays, comes to the top of the faraway tree, and anyone who has a birthday can go there and give the most wonderful party to all their friends. Oh, it would be lovely. Last time the birthday land came, nobody had a birthday, so we couldn't go. But this time we can, because Beth could ask us all. It sounds good, said Joe, but I didn't really want to go into any land again, you know. We always seem to get mixed up in odd adventures. Sorry about that again. It was another doorbell. Goodness me, can't we just get through our story? So, Joe had said, but I didn't really want to go into any strange land again, you know. We always seem to get mixed up in odd adventures. So far, we've always escaped all right, but we might not another time. Oh, no harm can come to you in the land of birthdays, said Moonface at once. It's a wonderful land. You really must come. It's a chance you mustn't miss. All right, said Joe, beginning to feel excited. I'll tell the girls when I get back. And we'll tell everyone in the tree and Mr. Whiskers and his elves too, said Silky. Beth would like everyone to go, wouldn't she? Oh, yes, said Joe. What happens though? I mean, do we have to arrange for things to eat or anything? And what about a birthday cake? Franny was going to make one for Beth. Tell her not to, said Silky. She'll find everything she wants up in the birthday land. My word, we are lucky. Fancy someone really having a birthday just as the birthday land comes along. Beth's birthday is on Wednesday, said Joe, so we'll go up the tree then. I'd better go back and tell the girls now. I said I wouldn't be long. Have a toffee shock, said Moonface. No, thank you, said Joe. I'd rather have a pop cake. So they sat and munched the lovely pop cakes and talked about the exciting time they had had with the red goblins. Now I really must go, said Joe, and he got up. He chose a red cushion, said goodbye to Silky and Moonface, and shot off down the slippery slip. Joe thought he really could do that all day. It was such a lovely feeling. He flew out of the trapdoor at the bottom and landed on the moss. He got up and ran home. The girls were pleased to see him back so soon, and when they heard about the birthday land, they were tremendously excited. Oh, said Beth, going red with joy. I am lucky. I wonder what will happen. Do you suppose there will be a cake for me? Certainly, said Joe, and lots of other things too, I expect. We shall have to tell Mother, said Franny. I wonder if she will let us go. Mother didn't seem to mind. I expect it's just some sort of birthday joke your friends in the wood are playing on you, she said. Yes, you can go if you like. Our cottage is really too small for a very large party. I shall wear my best dress, said Beth happily. The one Mother got me last week with the blue ribbon. But Mother wouldn't let her. No, she said firmly. You will all go in your old clothes. I remember quite well what you looked like when you went off to see that funny friend of yours, the old saucepan man. I certainly shall not allow any of you to wear nice things next Wednesday. Beth was nearly in tears. But Mother, I can't go to my own birthday party in old clothes, she said. But it was no good. Mother said they could wear old clothes or else not go. And that was it. I don't know what everyone will think of us. Going to the birthday land in our oldest things, said Joe gloomily. I've a good mind not to go. But when Wednesday afternoon came, they all thought differently. Old clothes or not, they were going to go. Come on, said Joe. It's time we went to the land of birthdays. Now that is exciting. Okay, so you'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out what happened in the land of birthdays. It's exciting. Bye for now.